Some may have already heard there might have been more than one creation in the book of Genesis. For others, this might be the first time, so I encourage you to do your research, know things for yourself. What I want to do is, I want to bring up 3 points between chapter 1 and chapter 2 of the book of Genesis and explain why I believe that there was more than one creation. My personal opinion, there might have been multiple creations, but right now we're only talking about 2. What I want to do is read a little bit from chapter 1, hit my points, and then I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 2, hit my points, and then compare them. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 24, and God said, "Let the earth bring forth living creature according to their kind, livestock and creeping things, and beasts of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth according to their kinds, and the livestock according to their kinds, and everything that creeps on the ground according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. Verse 26. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing on the earth." So God created man in his own image, and in the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. And God blessed them. And God said to them, "Be fruitful, and multiply, and fill the earth, and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over every living thing that moves on the earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit." And it was so. And every beast of the earth, and every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, and everything that has the breath of life, I have given every plant for food. In verse 24, God creates animals before men. Now I'm going to stop there. And there's just 3 points I want to bring up that I'm going to compare to chapter 2, but I want you to remember this. In verse 26, God said, "Let us make man in his image," and he goes on to create male and female at the same time. And later on, in verse 28 and 29, he clearly states every herb, every animal, every fruit, and every tree is for man to use for meat, aka food, throughout all of the earth. Before moving on to chapter 2, let's break this down, okay? Because I don't want to lose anybody in this. God creates animals and man. God clearly states he creates male and female after the animals. Male and female. He doesn't say man and woman. Many people believe this was the original creation. Many people believe that when we were originally created in the likeness of God, we were actually still in a spiritual form. We didn't have flesh and bone. We weren't as the creation of Adam and Eve. We were meant to prosper and live and create and manifest as gods did. Yes, I said gods, because the original creation of God creating male and female, it states in the verse, let us. In the original Hebrew and Greek text, it is Elohim, which is plural for gods and goddesses. I know if you're listening to this, most of you already know that. And then moving forward onto the last part that I read, it clearly states that every tree, every herb, every fruit, everything on the earth, it doesn't say that there was a garden, that we were, sectioned off to a certain area. It says the whole earth. It says everything on there. Why would things change so dramatically from chapter 1 to chapter 2 if it was the same creation? Why did originally we have dominion over everything, and then chapter 2 says Garden of Eden, and we can eat off of any tree except 1 and 2? Why had things changed? What was so different? Chapter 1 and 2 also changes from God creating to the Lord God. Why is that? Why don't they just use the word God or the word Lord God consistently throughout the chapters? Why does it change? Is it because originally there were actual names of the gods, and slowly through time they removed them to confuse us, to keep us from actually knowing that there was more than one God? I believe the first creation in chapter 1 was the original source, the gods that created everything. Chapter 2 was the manipulation of what was already here. Chapter 2 describes the Lord God making a creation, or should I say a manipulation, to what was already here, taking us into a garden, into a section, dividing us, separating us from what was already here, what we already had, creating a delusion, an illusion of peace, prosperity, safety, when really it was purely the opposite. It was sheltering us from the truth, keeping us from the truth, manipulating us, imprisoning us, stripping us from our knowledge of understanding who we were and what our purpose was, creating a new purpose, deceiving us. Now moving on to chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed the man of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living creature. And the Lord God planted a garden in Eden. Now he created man first, and then put him in a garden, removing him from where he created him. In the east, he placed the man whom he had formed into this garden. And out of the ground the Lord God made to spring up every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Now he's further creating trees within this garden. Sounds a little different from chapter 1, doesn't it? And the tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge and good and evil. Some believe that these trees, the tree of life and the tree of good and evil, were they even really trees? Why were they forbidden? Some believe that they were symbolic for what the Lord God was actually hiding from us when he removed us from the world, placing us in captivity. The tree of life was the original source. When we ate from the tree of knowledge, we understood what had happened to us, therefore banning us from the garden so that we could not tell others. Verse 15. And the Lord God took the man, put him in the garden of Eden, to work it and keep it. The first creation in chapter 1 did not say anything about us working, did not say anything about us keeping. We were just purely soul creations of God, free to roam and replenish the earth. That's another thing I want to bring up real quick. God said replenish the earth. All animals and humans replenish the earth. Why? Doesn't the word replenish mean to refill? Indicating maybe there's been more than one creation? Maybe this wasn't the first time? First of all, why would the Lord God even tempt us? Why would he even if he clearly just 2 verses ago, and the Lord God commanded the man, saying, you may surely eat of every tree of the garden, but of the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in that day you shall surely die. Planted every tree within that garden for us. Why would he also plant a tree that we cannot touch? And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. And he created Eve. Now moving down to verse 19. Now, out of the ground the Lord God had formed every beast of the field and every bird of the heavens, and brought them to the man to see what he would call them. Now, remember in chapter 1 how God creates animals first, then man? Chapter 2, man is created, then animals. Chapter 1, God clearly creates male and female both at the same time. Whereas chapter 2, verse 7, man is created, which is Adam, and then he takes, everyone knows the story, the rib, puts him to sleep, takes the rib, creates Eve. It's not at the same time. In chapter 1, it clearly states that every tree was for us to eat. Chapter 2, all within the garden, except for 2. Well, it says except for the tree of knowledge. Maybe the tree of life wasn't even within the garden. Maybe it was somewhere else. Maybe you had to eat of the tree of good and evil to understand what the tree of life was. A lot of people believe that chapter 2 creation was actually Enki, was the Anunnaki creating us, manipulating us from what God actually created from the beginning. Creating a worker, creating someone to tend the land, exactly like the Sumerian text. You see, when we were taken from the original kind, from male and female, and recreated with flesh, we were manipulated to forget who we were, who we are. And before we could eat of the tree of life, to understand who we are, we were banished. We were pushed away, keeping us forever lost. Many people believe, the Lord God cursed Adam and Eve when they had done what they did in the Garden of Eden. God cursed them with his words forever. Why is it that he needed Jesus to come down and do all these things, die on the cross, in order to relieve this curse, when he had the ability to just speak something into existence? I don't understand the thought process behind it. When the Lord God found Adam and Eve in the garden after they had sinned for the first time, they were hiding because they realized they were naked. And the Lord God gave them skin. I wonder if that was actual flesh, if it was clothing. The original creation emphasizes male and female and not man and woman. What is the difference between that? Just like they say you have a right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of your brain. One is more feminine and one is more masculine. We think differently. And the pure reason for meditation is to bring those 2 hemispheres of your brain together, creating them to work as one, to marry your 2 hemispheres, masculine and feminine sides together. I wonder if that's the true purpose of marriage, bring male and female, feminine and masculine energies together. Not so much what we do now in the church and rings and commitment, all that good stuff. The more I think about it, the more it makes me question. With every answer, there's more questions. Is there a way to break what has been manipulated to us? What has been done to us? Is there a way? People say that we need to understand that we are like God, made in His image, but are we still? Are we still made in His image? Can we get back to how we were? If so, how? Do we need to find the tree of life? Is it still out there? Is the whole understanding of what has happened still out there for us to find? To bring us back to the original male and female spiritual forms of God. These 3 points, well, now I've said way more than 3, but these major 3 points are what make me wonder how many creations have been completed, how many restarts have happened. Is the book of Revelations really the end? Or is it just what happens before it restarts? Could this be why we don't understand ancient technology? There's been more than one restart. Is this why there's broken links in evolution of people, of human mankind, where they can't piece together what has happened through science? Massive restarts. Noah, that was a restart. But nobody really talks about that, how that was a massive restart. There was humans on the earth. People, go do your research. Sometimes things are right in front of our face. These 2 chapters have been in my face all my life, and it took me till recently to really understand what I was looking at the whole time. People spend too much time listening to what the preacher says, man's opinion, religion. How much was cut out of the Bible? Let's face it, the Bible's only a couple hundred pages. We have years, thousands of years of history, if not more, put into a book. Could it have all the information? I don't think so. Is it a good start? Yeah. But you see, what I've come to find is that you gotta take bits and pieces. You gotta do your research, not just in one area. You gotta look outside. Other books, other religions, other understandings, other cultures. Take what you like, take what's important, take what resonates with you, and come to a conclusion. You're not gonna find everything in one spot. What do you think now? Was there more than one creation?